The main thing I did this week, though, was I played Martha is Dead. So, full disclosure, I got a code for this. I played this. I wanted to get this played before I started Elden Ring. This is from developer LKA and published by Wired Productions. This is the game that has famously been talked about this week because of Sony censoring something from the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get onto that in a minute. But basically, the setup is you play as Julia, who is an Italian girl who it's set in the backdrop of World War II. You are living in this villa away from the war in Italy at the moment, and your father is working with the Nazis. So there's a bit of stuff going on there with like rebels in the area and what your dad's been up to. But Julia one morning wakes up and she goes down to the lake to meet her sister Martha and discovers that she's dead. She has drowned in the lake, and it becomes a murder mystery horror game trying to figure out what happened to Martha, and everything kind of spirals after that point. It's a walking sim, so if you like walking sims, it's that kind of game. I do like a good walking sim if it's got a good, engaging story. I think the story is really engaging. I think what they're trying to do with the story and what they're trying to tell in terms of grief and mental health and everything on that line is really well done. Mm-hmm. I just have a few issues with the way that the game presents its horror. I think at times it doesn't do it enough. It kind of tries to do that thing where you're wandering around and you'll open a door really slowly, like because something's going to be on the other side. And I just wish that it did have a bit more of that in it, that it had a bit more jump scares. I think there is probably about 2 jump scares in the whole thing. The rest of the horror is more about unnerving and trying to keep you feeling unnerved, which it does really well at times because the soundtrack is brilliant. They do this really wonderful thing with a violin where it's like someone playing it wrong and plucking at the strings and scratching the strings, and that really gets under your skin. But I had a few issues technical wise. I had issues at times with interacting with things. It wouldn't interact with things.
Oh, what are you playing it on?
Xbox. So I had, at one point, for some reason, all the graphics just blacked out. And I couldn't see what I was doing. I went into this little area where
Was it because you closed your eyes?
No. You have to go into this area to use do a Morse code puzzle. And I couldn't see what I was doing because I couldn't find the Morse code thing because the screen was just all the text just went black. And I couldn't see what was. I found it, but just by happenstance, I was just clicking X everywhere, and I found it. But then when it loaded it up, I couldn't see the actual Morse code machine. So it's just. Eventually, I managed to do that when it reloaded into a different day, and I went back in. But there was just these little things. I found myself at times when I was wandering through the woods, just getting snagged on scenery and unable to move. So I had to reload back to the last autosave.
Oh, that's really good.
No, luckily it autosaves quite regularly. So the most I lost at one point was like 10 minutes. So it wasn't too bad. But it's just these little things that they probably should have ironed out before they'd done that. But it does a really good thing with what I really liked was the mechanic of how you solve things is through photography. And you have this old, obviously 1940s camera, and you get all these different types of film for it, different types of flash bulbs and everything for it. And you kind of go around the area you're in, taking pictures of things. You take it back to the dark room, you develop these photos, and you unsolve the mystery by doing these, by taking these photos and developing them. So I really like that. And also, if you're the kind of person who wants to just go around and take pictures of nice scenery and develop it and put it in your photo album and save to your Xbox, you can do that. It's really good. It gives you all these different options that you don't have to use, but it gives you them. There's a lot of things to do, like your typical walking sims. There's a few side quests you can do if you want to. You don't have to do. But let's talk about the face cutting scene.
I was going to ask.
So the scene that got taken out by Sony was the scene where you cut off somebody's face. And while that is quite gruesome, that isn't the worst thing in this game.
There was another scene that Sony got cut out as well. I think it was someone being stabbed.
Mm-hmm. Did Sony take the
somebody being
out,
stabbed,
or did they take the QuickTime events portion of it out?
Yeah, on the Xbox version, you can do the QuickTime event, or you can just click skip. It does give you the option to skip that.
Yeah.
And there is actually a bit right near the end where it gives you a trigger warning. It actually comes up on the screen and says this next section will include this. I'm not going to go into what. If you don't want to see this, you can skip this, and you can play the mission. But at the point where this happens, the game will skip, and it does give you that trigger warning. But there are at least 3 different things in this game that I found way more disturbing than that face cutting scene. That face cutting scene is tame compared to these.
So I've just looked it up. Yeah, Punk, you're right. So on the PlayStation, the face
Punk's always fucking right.
The face peeling scene is no longer interactive, so it's just a cutscene. You don't actually control anything in it. And then there's another one that involves Julia cutting something out of somebody, which is no longer interactive.
That's the scene. It's fucking. I sat and watched that, and I physically when I did it because it's fucking. It doesn't bother me, but I did it, and I was just like, and I actually said out loud,
faces all the time.
All the time. Can't see my row of them behind me. Yeah, it made me say out loud. I was like, "Fuck." I was just like, "Fuck me!" Like they've put all that stuff about the face. And people kicking off about that and talking about that. This is way worse.
Do you think it's possible that the censors read what the scene entails? Because on black and white on paper, like, that does look quite choice.
Oh, yeah, it's quite bad. Like, I can see why people would skip it, but I don't know why, say, Sony took it out. There is an option on the Xbox. It just says press Y to skip. And you just skip the scene.
Sony have started taking out naked kids from their games and everything. They've got very soft of late. They don't know their audience at all.
The last bullet point on that list of things that Sony asked to have removed was any mention of masturbation has been totally removed during the church chapter. This includes voiceover and text. I'm wondering what the byline is on this.
Oh, the candle wax everywhere.
Yeah, that when she starts talking about that, it's a bit like, wow.
So Sony have done the game and Xbox a huge favor then, because they've made all this buzz about this game, and people are going to play it on Xbox because they want to see what actually, like, how bad it is.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I think it does some things really well and some things not so well. I think that I gave it a 7 out of 10 in the end, but mainly because of the technical problems I had with it. But in terms of the story, I really like the story. I played it in Italian because obviously it's set in Italy. It's the default option is Italian. I put it to English. They started talking English. I thought, this sounds shit. They sound shit. So I put it into Italian and played the whole thing in Italian, which I thought was better because it added to the aesthetic and the setting and everything. It really worked for me in Italian. But yeah, I if you like walking sims and a horror, it might be for you. You might enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't one of my favourites when it comes to that genre. But yeah, so,
worth a go once it hits Game Pass.
Yeah, once it's on Game Pass, maybe give it a go. Hopefully, then they might have patched some of the problems that I had with it.